All right, everybody. Well, I got just a little bit past the 2 o'clock hour. I just turned the briefing on, so everybody should hopefully be able to see the first slide there, just the opener. Again, this is Ben here at National Weather Service in Slidell. We'll talk a little bit about our event that we're going to have later on tonight and through the overnight. And so with that, we'll just go ahead and get this started here. There's a lot going on this slide, so I'll take a little bit of time to cut through everything is there. I'm going to start first with timing. If you look on the graphic there on the left, the earliest that anybody would see anything would be in our extreme western area. So basically, Baton Rouge up through the Felicianas, up towards Wilkinson County in Mississippi. It's going to be, even for there, the likelihood of seeing anything significant this afternoon is really small, but that would be the extreme earliest. The most likely time frame for the beginning of the line to come through that we're expecting will be later on this evening, and maybe even as late as 8 or 9 p.m. at the earliest. So there may be some pop-up stuff, and we're starting to see some indication of some showers and maybe some thunderstorms popping up now. I don't believe what we're seeing there will have anything that would be severe. There's a lot of limitations to what's developing right now to keep it from being strong to severe. But the actual line that we're watching develop back in Texas, and there's some other storms up in the far northwestern portions of the state, those aren't going to make it here until later on tonight. So though I have that extreme western area saying this afternoon, I really think that is a very slim chance. And then as you see, as it moves across, the majority of it is going to be late tonight into the early morning hours of Thursday. So everyone needs to have ways to be able to get those messages overnight while the majority of folks are asleep. That is going to be the prime time for this. And so this will definitely be an overnight event. And so that's something as we move through the night, which will add a little extra concern there. I would say that the top concerns when it comes to for threats, as you look at the scale there, are probably going to be damaging winds, large hail, and flooding rain. Tornadoes just a little bit below that. This really isn't for us the setup for any real significant tornadic activity. The one exception would be portions there of southwest Mississippi. They're right on the edge of that enhanced risk, and SBC has put that there with the possibility of stronger long track tornadoes in that portion of the area. So the rest of the area, I think, will have a chance for tornadoes, but it's going to be a very weak tornadoes that are embedded in the strong line of storms that'll be coming through overnight. And even the chances for those are going to be pretty small. The damaging wind threat within that line is what we're going to be more concerned about, that it may be one of those setups where you get those curved bow echo looking things where you have a lot of strong winds pushing through with the line of storms. And that may be the bigger threat as we move through the overnight hours with this coming through. So I'll hit a little bit more on some of these threats, but as you can see, again, the main thing on the timing, even though I do have them marked in 3 sections, I think the bulk of this is going to happen in the far west, probably maybe after 9 or 10 p.m. for the Baton Rouge area as you go through that middle section there, including Hammond, New Orleans, Houma, Slidell, the North Shore, the northern part of the Florida parishes, and from Macomb to the east there, Mississippi. I mean, that's probably going to be maybe at the earliest 10 to midnight, but maybe even after midnight. And then anywhere from as you get down to Plaquemine, St. Bernard, and the Mississippi Gulf Coast. I mean, most of that area, we're talking, it's all early Thursday morning, probably after midnight. So this is going to be a late night deal. So let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and jump on to the next. I touched on this briefly. I just wanted to kind of show the map. I put it in the slide deck I sent out, talking about the tornado risk. Again, as you can see there, southwest Mississippi and up to the north and east, that's where the bigger concern for tornadoes is, not so much across the Florida parishes, southeast Louisiana, river parishes, coastal Mississippi. Not as much there. Again, it doesn't mean there can't be a really short-lived, weak tornado in the line as it moves through, but it is just not the main threat. But we will watch for things that could be a launch point, like it is a lot of times where things start to really develop as it approaches the Mississippi line coming out of Louisiana, going to the northeast. And then some of these things can kind of take off a little bit as it gets in a little bit better environment for tornadoes further to the north and east. The worst of this is more likely going to be up in central and northern Mississippi, up in to portions of western Tennessee. That's probably where the bulk of the tornadic activity will be during the day today and then through the overnight hours. So the other big threat that I mentioned was rainfall, and that's something that we'll definitely be watching. Even though you probably heard from us over the course of the last few weeks about a lot of areas in kind of a little bit of a drought. But even with that being the case, what we're seeing with this event is a lot of indications that we could have some really heavy hourly rainfall rates in these storms. And if they train over the same areas for a little bit of time with the rainfall rates that we're seeing, it is definitely possible we could have some widespread flash flooding occur through the overnight hours into the early morning hours of Thursday. So we're in the slight risk, as you can see there, for excessive rainfall, and it's definitely something that we are concerned about, which is why you probably saw that we have a flash flood watch out for everywhere right now except for portions of southwest Mississippi. And we are working with the Jackson office, and it's possible that there may be something added there later on today, depending on what some of the things we see upstream with what's developing there. So no matter what, flash flooding is definitely a threat overnight. And obviously, nighttime flash flooding is a very dangerous situation because anybody out and about, if they are driving down the wrong road, could unfortunately meet a unfortunate end. So it's something that we take very seriously. And again, we'll be watching this through the night and seeing how these storms progress. Everybody usually wants to see a precipitation rainfall map. This is it, but a couple bullets there on the right side kind of back up what I was saying on that last slide, is that there could be some intense rainfall rates possible with these storms. And though you don't see anything on there that says 3, 4, 5 inches in all reality, it is something that is a definite reality. We are seeing some modeling showing there may be some isolated areas even approaching 6, 7 inches of rainfall out of this. So I don't want you to focus so much on the numbers there as to maybe the areas where you see the higher amounts, because those may be areas that could be more likely to have very heavy rainfall and significant flash flooding. So it's a widespread area, and it's something that everyone needs to take time to keep aware on as we move through the overnight hours as these storms come in and develop. And then again, it's the training part that's going to create the flooding issues, because if you start to get those heavy rainfall rates moving over the same areas with 2 or 3 storms, it just can't take that much water that fast. So a quick summary of the impacts. Again, we have a solid line of storms, strong to severe, will work their way into the area. It says there late this afternoon, but at this point, the way things are starting to develop out to our west, it may be a little bit later than that. And I don't believe they're going to start really making their way into southeast Louisiana and the extreme portions of southwest Mississippi, maybe until after sunset, and maybe even as late as 9 or 10 p.m., depending on the speed of the line as it continues to develop and move east. But it will be an event that takes us all the way through the overnight hours and should be wrapping up somewhere around daybreak or just after on Thursday in coastal Mississippi and down around the Crow's Foot and it'll work its way out into the Mississippi Sound. And we do have all modes of severe weather possible with this. But the thing that I hit in the third bullet there, damaging winds and flash flooding will be the main threats. I think it's more likely that we are going to see little bows along the line where the winds really push out and they could have 60, 80 mile per hour winds in there. Tornadoes are not our main threat. And then, of course, if things line up just right, like I mentioned earlier, where you have areas getting hit by multiple storms, with the heavy rainfall, you're going to have flash flooding issues. So those are the two things that we're going to be definitely watching through the overnight hours. And then as that front comes through, conditions will improve rapidly from, west to east as the cold front moves through the area. And so by the time we get, to about mid-morning tomorrow, I think everybody should be in a pretty good spot. And I don't think we have any severe weather sitting out there on the horizon right now for a little while. And I think we all would appreciate if we could get that break there as well. So with that, I'll open it up and